أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. One time the Prophet ﷺ was asked, who is the most beloved of servants to Allah? And just look at the question to begin with. Look at the way that the Sahaba used to ask the questions. Look how they used to be curious enough to think, what's a question that in order for me to ask, I will get an answer that will satisfy my heart? Who is the most beloved of servants to Allah? Who does Allah love the most? In which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the one who has best manners. The one who has best character. Having good character and having good manners is actually a form of ibadah. Having good character and good manners is a form of ibadah. And it's not a form of ibadah that is belittled. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, indeed the believer may reach by his good character the rank of the one who fasts and stands for prayer every single night. So the one who fasts not during Ramadan, the one who fasts not just Mondays and Thursdays, so the one that fasts every single day, and the one that stays up in Salah in Tahajjud every single night, the one who has good character will be at the same level. And this shows you that some actions, contrary to what people think, are actually higher in reward than others. One time Umar al-Khattab, he came to the masjid and he saw someone who was just in the masjid all day just worshipping Allah. And he said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm worshipping Allah. He said, who provides for you? He said, my brother. He said, your brother is better than you. Your brother, in his work, it's his ibadah, and he's supporting himself and he's supporting you as well. The best of you are those who are most beneficial to others. So it shows that it's not just the prayer or it's not just the fasting. The character plays a big role and holds a big status in the eyes of Allah. And not only that, has a big impact in dunya and has a massive impact at the time of your death, and has a massive and even bigger impact in the akhirah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, I was sent to perfect good character. Who doesn't want good character? Who, the one that does not want Allah and the angels and the heavens and the creation all to love him or her? Because the one that Allah loves, He lets all the inhabitants of the heavens know, and He says, love him or love her. And Jibreel begins to love him or her. And then the inhabitants of the heavens, and then the inhabitants of the earth. So the same one, the one that Allah doesn't like, He also makes Jibreel alayhi salam and the inhabitants of the heavens and the inhabitants of the earth to also not like as well. So everyone would love that status and that level in the eyes of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, I was sent to perfect good character. So what does character have to do with the 5 pillars of Islam? Who wants to take a guess? 5 pillars of Islam are the pillars of Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I was sent to perfect good character, not sent to establish 5 daily prayers, or I was sent to establish 5 pillars. He says, I was sent to perfect good character. Where does the 5 pillars of Islam fit into good character? The 5 pillars are actions or rituals that every single one of them, the result of these are to have a moral objective. Inna salata tanha al-fahsha'i wal-munkar. That your salah is there to prevent and to protect you from these evil and immoral acts. So if you pray and commit evil and immoral acts, are you really praying the prayer that should be prayed? The objective of the salah is that it fixes you internally. What about zakat? Although you have options to give sadaqah, this is optional. But zakat, Allah has made a small amount compulsory, so that you never have that complete greed in your heart. There's always something that He has made an obligation on you to say that something is never mine. This money, this 2.5% was never mine to begin with. It was for Allah. This greed and this desire of wealth, this is something of the character. And what about fasting? Fasting is prescribed upon you like it was prescribed upon those before you. Not full stop. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. The objective is that by the end of the fasting, you're more conscious and aware of Allah. So that your conduct in public and in private is the same. You're conscious of Allah wherever you are. How does that connect with fasting? Because in fasting, no one can tell if you're really fasting or not. You could be home alone and the fridge is filled with food and no one's around. No one can tell. But you yourself hold yourself. This ritual, this physical ritual, has a moral objective. This shows how all of these things in our deen are tied to our character. So, having this good character and good manners from the 5 pillars of Islam and above, this is something very important. The Prophet ﷺ says in a beautiful hadith, he says, I guarantee a house in Jannah for the one who gives up arguing, even if they're right. Allah hates arguing. And you know what? If you're having a discussion with someone, and the moment they start to say, yeah, but you, and that moment, the moment you feel that the other person has begun the argument, then and there, you say, okay, I'm not going to argue. Even if you're right. And there's a sweetness that you taste when you do that. You know why? Because deep down, you're saying, Ya Rab, that palace that the Prophet ﷺ promised me in Jannah is more valuable to me than this, even if I'm right. I'm not interested. And this, you find, begins to clean and cleanse the heart. If the heart is corrupt, you find your character is corrupt. Or should I say, if your character is corrupt, it's a sign that your heart is corrupt. Even if people that are nice, and even non-Muslims, if you were to ask them about their opinion about so-and-so or about so-and-so, you'll find that a lot of them, they'll say, yeah, his heart's in the right place. Yeah, he's got a good heart, or she's got a good heart. Even they can tell. So he says, I promise a house in the outskirts of Jannah for the one who gives up arguing even if they're right. And then he said, and I guarantee a house in the middle of Jannah for the one who abandons lying even if it's for the sake of a joke or for the sake of fun. You're among friends, you're laughing, you're joking and all these kind of things, and you remembered something that was really funny, and if you say it, your friends are all going to crack up laughing, and you say, you know what? I'm not going to say it. At that moment, you feel Allah put something in your heart because it's something that no one else could have seen or known. It is something between you and Allah, and you know deep down in that moment you feel Allah fills your heart with Iman, because for you, this hadith and following the Prophet ﷺ and wanting that house in the middle of Jannah is more beloved to you than even if every single person on earth was to laugh at your joke. These are traits of Iman, and in boosting in Iman, that when you give up something that only Allah knows about, and you will find the sweetness that only you will know about. And then he said, and I guarantee a house in the highest levels of Jannah. Isn't that every single believer's goal? In the highest levels of Jannah. So he's talking about the outskirts. Then he went in the middle of Jannah, and now he's gone to the highest levels of Jannah. For who? For the one who has good character. For the one who has good manners. For the one who doesn't react. For the one who thinks. For the one who judges before they speak. For the one who thinks twice before they say something. For the one who relaxes at the moment of the calamity, in case they do something that might not please Allah or might cause problems. For the one who doesn't let the emotions get the better of them. The Prophet ﷺ continued, and he said in another hadith, the one closest to me on the day of judgment is the one who has the best manners. The one closest to me on the day of judgment is the one who has the best manners, the best character. So subhanAllah, look at all these things of the Prophet ﷺ, and these are just a few, by the way, there's still so many, but just a few that the Prophet ﷺ emphasized so much on character. I want to ask you a question. Tell me a sunnah. Smile. Another sunnah. Sunnah praise. Excellent. Another sunnah. Salam. Another sunnah. Miswak. Another sunnah. Beard. These are all external. What about the sunnah of the heart? You find when people become practicing, the first thing they do is all the easy sunnah. Growing the beard is easy. In fact, you don't even have to do anything. It just grows by itself. These external sunnah, the miswak and all these things with your right foot and left foot and entering and leaving, these are all easy. The non-Muslims can do this. But the sunnah of the heart, in the way the Prophet ﷺ used to react and used to feel and used to think, this is the real sunnah. This is the sunnah that he engraved in the hearts of the Sahaba. And he left real men and real women, that the outside sunnah is just decorations. But the internal sunnah, this is the character that the Prophet ﷺ left behind. That even although he had the right to destroy all of Ta'if, and Jibreel alayhi salam, he said, just tell me, Ya Muhammad, just tell me. And this is all finished. And he said, no, maybe one day someone will come out from there saying, La ilaha illallah. This is the character, even to his enemies. Look how he was. Because this is a tough one. And this is why he mentioned all these ahadith. Why do the people with good manners and good character get the highest ranks in the akhirah? In addition to the highest ranks in dunya, by the way. Because anyone can pray. As they say, the good, the bad and the ugly. Anyone can fast. The people that have good manners and the people that have bad and ugly manners. They can fast and they do fast. Anyone can give zakat, anyone can give sadaqah, anyone can go to hajj, anyone can do many things. But not everyone can have good manners. And this is why it's deserving the highest ranks and the closest rank to the Prophet ﷺ. When Aisha was asked about the character of the Prophet ﷺ, she said his character was the Quran. And like when you think, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, like how is that a character? The way we look at it is when we read the stories of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam and the Anbiya and the stories that are mentioned in Quran and the lessons in the ayat, it's there to make us reflect and comprehend and say, so if Ibrahim alayhi salam, he had guests come over, and in one ayah was saying that he gave them a lot of food, and in another ayah he told them that he gave them good quality of food. That means when someone comes over my house as a guest, from the teachings of the Quran, is that I don't ask, would you like something or would you not? Because 9 times out of 10 they're going to say, no, it's okay. And deep down they might be hungry or thirsty. So, you don't ask, you put a lot of food, and you make sure it's good quality. This is character from the Quran. And this is just one example, there's many examples. About when someone does bad to you, when someone does things to you, when someone does good things to you, in cases where there's enemies, where there might be fighting, where there might be marriage, where there might be whatever it might be. SubhanAllah. It was one of the mashayikh, he was saying, when we want to get married, we get married according to the Sunnah. And then when we want to get divorced, we get divorced according to Iblis. Why? If you're going to get married according to the Sunnah, you get divorced according to the Sunnah. Because this is the best way. And you'll find many ayat that talk about suppressing your anger, not overreacting, forgiving people. And you find that those ayat that talk about forgiving others, even though you have the right to take your right from them, when you forgive them, Allah ends the ayah with what? And Allah loves the muhsinin. Or Allahu Ghafurur Rahim. And Allah is also forgiving and merciful. So in order to be forgiven by Allah, think, how am I with others? How I deal with others is how Allah will deal with me. The Prophet ﷺ was asked, whose Islam is best? In other words, who is a very good Muslim? He replied, the one who avoids harming the Muslims with his tongue and with his hands. He's careful in how he speaks. I keep referring to he just because I'm used to it, but he and she. He or she, they're very considerate in the way that they speak, in the person themselves, in their personality, in their experience, in their background, in what they might be going through, in their relationship between each other. They're very considerate with these things. You find that through good character, the Imaan really gets planted deep down inside. Because no one's forcing you to have good character. But deep down inside, you want to clean your heart and develop this character of the Prophet ﷺ. Isn't that all that we want? Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the best of Islam of a person is leaving that which doesn't concern him or her. To be from the best Muslims is that whatever, anything happens or someone such and such happens to someone, what you do, a lot of people, what happened? Did this happen? Why did that happen? And forgive me, but what's it got to do with you? Is it an immediate family member that's in your immediate family that is a concern for you? If it is, no problem. And if it's someone that there's a specific relationship or a special relationship you have with them and what concerns them concerns you, no problem. But if it's anyone and deep down you're asking just because you want to find out what's happening, if it doesn't concern you, don't ask. SubhanAllah, I remember one brother, he was standing with another brother that was going through some difficult times. And this brother asked him, they loved each other, they were very close. He asked him, how are you, how's things, salam alaikum, alaykum salam. And then he said, how's such and such, there was an event or something. And then like halfway through his question, he stopped and he said, no, actually don't worry about it. Because he realized that as he was asking the question, his heart felt that he wanted to find out because he wanted to find out. SubhanAllah. This character allows you to build an intimate relationship between you and Allah. And when you have a strong intimate relationship between you and Allah, your Iman is always strong. Because nothing on the outside matters. Nothing on the outside affects it. Can you see why character is so important? SubhanAllah, there's many examples about this. So, even thanking people, visiting the sick, all these rituals and Sunnah and verses from the Quran. SubhanAllah. Mu'adh bin Jabal. Mu'adh bin Jabal was a special Sahabi. And most of the ahadith that were related from Mu'adh begin with, Ya Mu'adh, I love you. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when he spoke to Mu'adh, before he would give him any advice, he would begin by saying, Ya Mu'adh, I love you. And if you love someone, he would give them special advice. Why did he used to love Mu'adh so much? Because Mu'adh had beautiful character. Very close character to the Prophet ﷺ. His manners were prophetic. The Prophet ﷺ, he sends, before he passes away, he sends Mu'adh to Yemen. And he's walking with Mu'adh before he sends him off. He prepares his horse and everything. He walks him to the gates of Medina, outside of Al-Medina. And while they're walking together, this is private time, one-on-one. And he's prepared and packed, and he's sad that he's leaving the Prophet ﷺ. So as the Prophet ﷺ is approaching the boundaries of Medina, he says, Ya Mu'adh, we might not meet each other again. In other words, I don't know if you'll come back before I die or if I'll stay living or not. Because he was sending him to Yemen to stay there and to teach the people Islam. And he chose Mu'adh specifically for Yemen. He says, Ya Mu'adh, he says, now I am here, you will see my masjid and you will see my house. He said, but maybe the next time you come back, you will see my masjid, you will see my house, but you won't see me. And this made Mu'adh radiallahu anhu cry. And he went to Yemen crying. The Prophet ﷺ, he sent Mu'adh to Yemen. And the last thing he said to him was, Ya Mu'adh, make your manners well for the people of Yemen. That was his last advice. Make your manners well for the people of Yemen. The people of Yemen were known for their good character, for their good generosity. Anyone that would go there, and even up until today, they are known for this. They are the poorest country in the Middle East. Yet if you were to go and sit with them, what they have in their food, they make sure you eat with them. He sent Mu'adh, one person, to Yemen, and he said, Ya Mu'adh, make your manners well for the people of Yemen. All of Yemen became Muslim because of the manners and the knowledge of Mu'adh bin Jabal. Today, which is the largest Muslim populated country in the whole world? Indonesia. 200 million Muslims that say La ilaha illallah. Indonesia did not become Muslim through jihad. They did not become Muslim through fighting. Indonesia became Muslim through business. Business of who? The people of Yemen. And that's why you find so many what they call Indo-Arabs. They're Indonesian, but their ancestors are Arabs. And if you trace it back, majority, if not all of them, are actually Yemenis. The largest Muslim population in the world is Indonesia at 200 million Muslims that say La ilaha illallah. They accepted Islam because of the manners of the Yemeni business people. And the Yemenis accepted Islam through Mu'adh bin Jabal, who the Prophet ﷺ gave him just one advice, one hadith. Ya Mu'adh, make your manners well for the people of Yemen. Can you see the impact of character from one advice of the Prophet ﷺ and the impact that it has, not in the time only of Mu'adh, but today? Don't hurry or hasten for rewards. Don't hurry or hasten for results. I was in Medina 2 years ago, and Allah decreed that I sit with the Imam of Masjid Quba, who is one of the biggest scholars of Medina. I said, give me some advice for da'wah in Australia. He said, do not hurry for the fruits of da'wah. Establish it well. Don't hurry for the fruits and the results. They will come from Allah. But do things well. Be kind. Have good manners. Don't just hasten just to get people shahada, no shahada. Think long term. Mu'adh bin Jabal wasn't thinking just 1400 years ago. And he followed the prophetic advice to say, Ya Mu'adh, make your manners well for the people of Yemen. Today, I personally know so many people that have accepted Islam and that are practicing and that are even involved in da'wah, and they accepted Islam because of the manners and the character of their Muslim friends. The impact that this has, not only on others, but on your heart and on your Imaan, is huge. And it deserves the highest levels of paradise and the closest station to the Prophet ﷺ. And we'll finish with one hadith that sets the foundations or sets the boundaries of us having good manners. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, do not be people without minds of your own. Do not be people without minds of your own. Saying that if someone does good to me, I will do good to them. And if someone does bad to me, I will do bad to them. He said, accustom yourself that if someone does good to you, you do good to them. And if someone does bad to you, you don't do bad to them. These are from the words of the Prophet ﷺ. So, do not be people without minds of your own. In other words, my mind is not your mind. My mind is my mind. The way I think is the way I think. My principles are my principles. They're not yours. They are mine. And I take it from the Prophet ﷺ. In other words, if someone does good to me, I do good to them. And if someone does bad to me, if I do bad to them, that means I have no mind of my own. I have no principles. I make their bad manners part of mine. So in other words, if this guy is ugly, with his manners, or this girl is ugly with her manners, if I do the same to her, then I am saying I am exactly like you and I want to be like you. If the whole world was ugly in your face, the believer is not. You are not. If we are really from the Ummah of Muhammad, this is how we are. And if someone does good to us, we do good to them. And if they do evil to us, it stops with us. We don't do evil back. Because that's not the way of the believer. That's not the way of Muhammad. It never was. Otherwise, the Ta'if would have been destroyed. If he was to react to the people the same way that they reacted to him, or the same way that what they did to him, then the world would have been a different place. The world would have been a different place. So, this is an advice and the key to the highest levels of paradise. In addition to that, this is the secret key to have the intimate relationship between you and Allah that will increase your Iman. Because part of giving things up for the sake of Allah, Allah would replace a sweetness in your heart with what you gave up. Until you would hate to go back to disbelief or anything regarding this, like you would hate being thrown into the fire. If you have good character and good manners, you are the winner. Disregard everyone else. Whether it's in your immediate family or extended family or neighbors or works or colleagues or whatever it might be. And I guarantee you, if you develop good character, it is more contagious than anything else. It is more contagious than anything else. If you want to spread happiness and positivity and good character and good manners and good relationships and all of this, if you start it, you will see how contagious it is. And not just that. One of the keys to making people love Islam and to also love you too, if you are nice and kind to them, you will find that they will always want to be with you, or they always want you around. If people are always complaining or negative or anything like this, they don't want to be around anyone and no one wants to be around them. But if you're always happy, if you are always positive, if you are always having nice manners and complimenting people and not... Because really, if we were to talk about some things, some problems that people have, wallah, we'd spend our whole lives talking about them. Because everyone, including ourselves, are filled with problems. But what kind of a life would that be? Do you think your heart would become clean with this kind of attitude? But if we have a clean heart and wish well for others, and even if others don't wish well for me, I still wish well for them. Their personality and their understanding and their opinion of me is not what I have of them. So these are the keys and the fundamental doors of having Iman in our heart and increasing Iman and getting closer to Allah. And really, this is all that we want. When we say we want to have a good life in this world, we have a, in the eyes of Allah, a good life. That doesn't mean I'm not talking luxury and things like this, but the good life is the life in Him. And inshallah, we have a good end, and inshallah, an even better life in the akhirah if our goal is our character. No matter what anyone does to you, always have in your mind, my number one priority is my character. The way that I react, the way that I act, the way that I talk, I will think twice and 3 times. I won't give up this character. This is how we need to feel. And you will see your Iman start to pulse again in your heart. Inshallah, may Allah allow us all to have this pulsing heart of Iman in our chest, and inshallah, and for us really to develop good character so we can spread this message and spread this Sunnah and spread this Islam like Mu'adh said, like the Prophet ﷺ sent Mu'adh to spread it to Yemen, and now the biggest country is Muslim because of it. And inshallah, we finish it here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.